The other day, Thursday in fact, um, I went to the Kingston Hospital emergency room, um, psych ward, uh, because I needed a vacation. Kidding. Um, I actually went there because the voices in my head had been telling me for some time and with increasing intensity that I should kill myself. Now, this is something that those voices have been doing for most of my life. I can remember being 4 years old and those voices telling me to step in front of a train in the subway. So, none of this is anything new. It's just that sometimes the voice is stronger and more insistent than others. So, anyway, Thursday I woke up and I felt really horrible. I could barely get out of bed. I couldn't brush my teeth. Like, I literally didn't have the energy to brush my teeth. I had already gone several days without a shower because I was just too tired and just too to even bother with hygiene. And this has been going on now for about a month. Basically, ever since I ran out of Abilify, which is one of many medications that I take to help regulate my emotions. I'm bipolar, um, and Abilify helps with my depression, my bipolar depression, and it also controls the psychotic features of my bipolar disorder. And psychotic features, what that means, all that means, is hallucinations and delusions, both of which I have. I have oral hallucinations, like the voices that tell me that I should kill myself. And I do have delusions, like sometimes I think the whole world is against me. Like, literally, the whole world is against me. And while my brain knows that that's not true, emotionally, it feels like there's some kind of plot going against me that I can't fight. It's just too big to see, let alone fight. Anyway, Abilify helps control things like that for me. And I didn't realize how much of the heavy lifting it did when it comes to regulating my emotions and regulating the voices, until I ran out of it. And about 2 weeks after I ran out of it, I noticed that I had less energy. I was I was more depressed and more easily. And at one point I thought, because even with the medication, there are still mood swings. They're just not as dramatic. And I thought I was headed for a manic upswing or hypomanic because I don't really have mania. I have hypomania, which is like a step down from mania, which, thank goodness, because I don't know what I'd do if I had a full manic episode. So I have hypomanic episodes. And I thought that's what I was heading for. And then I ran out of Abilify, and suddenly I find myself in a depressive slump, and it's progressively getting worse. And it was kind of scaring me after a while because I just didn't have any kind of like drive or ambition. Not that I normally do. I mean, I'm not a very ambitious person. I'm very lazy if given the chance. But this was something beyond that. I just I I don't know how to explain it, but suffice it to say, I just didn't have any impetus to do anything, and I couldn't deal with people. I was spending more time in the house, which I'm still doing, basically, turning myself into a hermit. Um, and at any rate, this past week it got really bad, like worse than I remember it being, except for this one time when I was so upset. I was at a bus stop and I was crying for nearly an hour while I was waiting for the bus, which was thankfully late because I didn't want to be crying on the bus. But yeah, that one time things were bad. Um, and there was this other time I had the urge to basically, there was a coffee cup that I had that had coffee in it, and it had a stir because I like lots of sugar in my coffee. and I was at work and I suddenly got this urge to literally just drive my head down until the stir pierced my eye, and it was such a strong urge, like I could barely fight it, um, and that was bad for me. Um, so, except for those two instances, um, this has been kind of the scariest slump that I've been in. Um, anyway, yeah. Um, when it got really bad, which was Thursday, it was a choice between going to work or going to the emergency room because I realized how I was feeling was not good. I was hearing the voice louder than ever, and everything it was saying was sounding so good because I was so freaking tired, and I decided that basically if I had to go to work, I was probably going to wind up scragging myself because I just couldn't deal with other people that day. Um, and I knew that these feelings were partly because I didn't, or partly, yeah, only 99% part of why I was feeling the way I felt. I knew this lack of Abilify was what was doing me in. And I got this idea in my head that if I went to the ER, they might have free Abilify that they could give me because all I could see was this depression getting worse and worse until I actually had the guts to slit my wrist. And that was my plan, that if things ever got bad enough, I would just slit my wrist because that seems like the least painful way to go. Um, yeah, so I figured I'd go to the ER and they'd diagnose me and get me free Abilify and things would finally start getting back to normal. Not quite how it happened. I'm starting to think that psych wards are designed to basically make people feel even worse. I cannot describe that place accurately enough. It there was a lady who kept screaming about God knows what. The exam room they had me in, it didn't have a window and there was a lock on the door. The outside of the door. There wasn't a lock on the inside. There was a bed in there that had restraints on it, and I was left in there to wait for doctors to come see me. And when the doctors finally did see me, they didn't seem to care what I had to say. Um, there was a social worker who was nice, but again, it was fake nice, and she didn't seem to get what I was saying. She wasn't really listening to me. She was putting her own slant on how I felt, which I really didn't appreciate. I was aggravated. Here I am basically pouring my heart out, you know, trying to get some kind of help before things get to a point where I don't want help. I just want to die. I literally want to die. Before it gets to that point, I just wanted something. And these people, the only thing they eventually gave me was, the only thing they gave me was a 7-day prescription for Abilify, not the 20 milligrams that I have been on for like the past year, but for 5 milligrams, they said because I had been off of it for a month that it was better to start slowly. Whatever, they may be right, they may be wrong. I think they should have started me off at 10. So yeah, they gave me that. The problem with Abilify is it costs nearly $700 for a 30-day supply. And so even 1 week's worth can break the bank, if you don't make a lot of money, which I don't. And I hadn't been able to afford it for the past month, which was why I hadn't been taking it. I was on Bristol Myers Squibb's patient assistance program, but I haven't heard from them in like 5 weeks, so I don't know if I'm getting another supply of Abilify or not, and I've been too afraid to call them, afraid that they'd say, sorry kid, we can't help you anymore. But anyway, my adventure at the psych ward at Kingston Hospital was not a good one. I spent the whole time there feeling like I wanted to cry, and all I wanted was my mother to come comfort me. And I felt as if I didn't really get any help, just a prescription, but that place, one thing it did for me was it was so bad. I have now decided that I will never let myself get so depressed or sick again that I ever, ever wind up in a psych ward ER again.